Love X Revenge. The waitress cried for help so quietly that at first it sounded like nothing more than a broken breath caught in her throat. The diner was loud with clinking plates, cheap laughter, and the low hum of engines cooling outside. No one noticed her trembling hands or the way her eyes darted toward the booth near the window. No one, except the bikers. They sat together near the counter, leather jackets creaking when they shifted, patches stitched with symbols that made most people look away. To the rest of the diner, they were trouble waiting to happen. To each other, they were brothers. And to her, though she didn't know it yet, they were the last line between fear and survival. Her name was Lily. She had been working double shifts for weeks, trying to keep the lights on in a small apartment that still smelled like the man she'd finally escaped. Tonight was supposed to be simple. Pour coffee, smile, survive. But then he walked in. Evan. He looked the same as always, clean jacket, sharp eyes, that calm smile that once convinced her love meant pain. He slid into the booth with two friends, laughing too loudly, making sure she saw him. When her knees almost buckled, he noticed. His smile widened. She tried to avoid the table, but he waved her over, fingers tapping the laminated surface like he owned it. When she reached him, he leaned forward and whispered something that made her blood turn cold. You thought you could disappear. She spilled coffee on the table. Her hands shook so badly she couldn't stop them. His friends laughed. Evan didn't. He reached out and grabbed her wrist under the table, his grip tight, familiar, terrifying. Meet me after your shift, he said softly. Or I start telling stories. About how clumsy you are. How unstable. She pulled her hand free and stepped back, chest burning. She turned, eyes stinging, and that's when she saw them watching her in the reflection of the coffee machine. 4 bikers. Big, silent, alert. The oldest one, gray in his beard and steel in his eyes, tilted his head slightly. Not aggressive, just aware. She tried to hold it together. She really did. But when Evan followed her to the counter and hissed in her ear, when he brushed past her on purpose, when he murmured, "You owe me," something inside her broke. The sound she made wasn't loud. Just a cracked whisper. Please, help. The gray-bearded biker stood up. The diner went quiet in that strange way places do when something important is about to happen. Chairs scraped. A fork clattered to the floor. Evan turned, annoyance flashing across his face as he saw who was standing. You got a problem? Evan asked, puffing up, trying to look brave. The biker didn't answer him. He looked at Lily instead. You okay, miss? He asked, voice calm, steady. She shook her head. Tears spilled freely now, shame and fear mixing together. He won't leave me alone. That was all it took. The biker nodded once. Another one stood. Then another. They moved slowly, deliberately, like wolves that didn't need to rush. Evan's friends shifted uncomfortably. Sit down, the gray-bearded man said to Evan, finally meeting his eyes. Evan laughed nervously. You think you scare me? The biker leaned in just enough for Evan to smell leather and road dust. No, he said quietly. I think you scare her. And that's a mistake. The diner manager hurried over, flustered, trying to calm things down. But the bikers weren't shouting. They weren't threatening. They simply stood there, a wall of silent judgment. What's going on? The manager asked. She's being harassed, the biker replied. And we're not leaving until it stops. Evan scoffed. This is between me and my girlfriend. Lily said, surprising herself with the strength in her voice. The biker smiled, faintly at her. Then he looked back at Evan. You heard her. Evan stood up abruptly, chair tipping back. You don't know who I am. The biker's eyes flicked to Evan's friends, who suddenly found the tabletop very interesting. We know enough. What happened next shocked everyone. Not because of violence, but because of restraint. The bikers didn't touch Evan. Instead, the gray-bearded man pulled out his phone and calmly started dialing. Local police, he said aloud. Restraining order violation. Witnesses present. Evan's face drained of color. You wouldn't. Oh, we would, another biker said, smiling without humor. And we'll stay for statements. Evan tried to leave, but the manager blocked the door, emboldened now. Customers murmured, phones coming out. Evan realized, too late, that this wasn't his world anymore. When the police arrived, Lily told her story with shaking hands. The bikers stayed by her side the whole time, silent but solid. Evan was escorted out in handcuffs, shouting threats that sounded hollow in the bright diner lights. Afterward, Lily sat in a booth, wrapped in a borrowed jacket that smelled like leather and safety. The gray-bearded biker slid a cup of coffee toward her. "You did the right thing," he said. She laughed weakly. "I didn't think anyone would care." He shrugged. "We care." She learned their names then. They were part of a riding club that had rules, strict ones. No hurting women, no looking the other way. They'd lost sisters, daughters, friends to men like Evan. Tonight, they weren't going to lose another. Word spread fast. By morning, the story was everywhere. People who had judged the bikers for years now called them heroes. The diner put up a sign thanking them. Lily's phone buzzed with messages of support. But the real shock came weeks later. Evan tried to contact her again. From jail. The message was full of rage and blame, but this time Lily didn't feel afraid. She felt something new. Strength. With the bikers, help, she connected with a legal advocate, updated her restraining order, and found the courage to testify fully. Evan's charm crumbled under the weight of truth. He was sentenced for harassment and assault. The man who once made her feel small was suddenly powerless. On the day it was over, Lily stood outside the courthouse, sunlight warming her face. The bikers were there, leaning against their bikes like they had nowhere else to be. "What now?" one of them asked. She smiled, really smiled, for the first time in a long while. "Now I live." They roared off together, engines echoing down the street, leaving behind more than tire marks. They left a reminder that strength doesn't always look gentle, that love can wear leather and scars, and that revenge doesn't have to be cruel to be complete. Sometimes, revenge is simply taking back your life. And sometimes, the people everyone fears are the ones who will stand up when you whisper for help. Fearful face.